Hi, welcome to Confessions. I'm your hostess of light, Jenny Watson. Tonight we will talk about numbers and how numbers are such an integral part of our lives. I mean, they're everywhere. We use them for time, for dates, for counting, for measuring, for comparison, for shopping, for games, and so on. They're everywhere. Scientific experimentation and breakthroughs are based off of them, and even everyday silly superstitions such as Friday the 13th is unlucky, or people die in threes, or 7 is a lucky number. So numbers are everywhere. We use them, and they also play an important role in metaphysics, such as in numerology and astrology. And it's really fascinating to see how they're key to unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves. So joining me tonight is a numerology expert, Maggie Lukowski. Maggie is a metaphysical consultant, and she has a very diverse background, including energy work, Reiki, angel readings, and empathy. And she's also a co-hostess of the Blog Talk Radio at Two Magazine's show, Personal Empowerment for Your Show. And it's a pleasure to have her on with me tonight. Good evening, Maggie. How are you?
I'm most excellent, Jenny. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for being on. Are you ready to bare your soul?
I am.
You are. And I got to say, I think your necklace is gorgeous. What is that?
It's the blue obsidian, and a man here near Durham, North Carolina, he's Taylor Z on Facebook, and he has these stones. He wraps them for you. He puts them out on Facebook. You claim them, and he sends them to you. And it's a very calming sound.
Beautiful. Wow. I love that. So how are you doing? How are you doing under the new moon this weekend and everything?
Oh, it's been a busy weekend, but it's been good. Our weather was almost to 70. I rototilled the garden, so we're getting ready to plant.
And I'm getting ready for another foot of snow, so I'm very jealous right now.
Spring's coming.
Spring's coming. It can't come quick enough for me over here in New York. It's driving us crazy. Even my kids are like, Mom, I've had enough of the snow. I'm like, I know, baby, I know. So anyway, it's good to have you on. I'm so excited. We've gone back a long way, and it's great to have you on. And you have a very diverse background, a lot of interesting stories, and one that sticks out for me that's really interesting. Let's start with, how did dog walking lead to your path to numerology?
Oh, well, dog walking was my first job. I was trying to get a job at the library, and you had to be 15 and get a worker's permit. So I had kind of a year to work out what could I do. So dog walking, that was my first entrepreneurial type of job. And there was a family from Armenia in our neighborhood. I grew up in Washington, D.C., in a very diverse community. So they'd work during the day, and I'd go walk the dog. And the grandmother was at home, and she was a reader. I don't know if it was tarot cards, but she used numbers and cards. So every time I would come and bring the dog back, she'd read for me. And so that kind of started me out with the interest in numbers and tarot cards. And then there was a man downtown in Washington who was a reader, and I got out my fake ID. We'd always have them for, we'd like to go to the clubs in Georgetown and listen to the band. So, I was 18 on this. So I went up to the building. It was a office building, and it was on the 7th floor, so that's the number of mystery, office number 13. And so I went in for a reading with him, and he used numbers, numerology, and the tarot cards.
Fascinating. Very cool. Now, I believe numbers play a really important part of our lives, and I don't know if you've ever seen that show Touch with Keith Sutherland in it. Did you ever see that?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's fascinating. For those who haven't watched, his son and a number of other, geniuses understand the complexity of like numeric algorithms and how they play an important part of synchronicity in our lives. So, how do you see numbers as being synchronistic or important in our lives?
Well, numbers are like, it's kind of like astrology. Astrology, we are born under a certain sign, but we're just not that sign. We have an ascendant, we have a moon sign, the planets, and numerology is the same way. We have our life path number, but there's a lot of other numbers. We have numbers from our names that we can use. We have our soul, our destiny number. We came here, our soul came here for a purpose, and part of the numbers and how we associate. And Pythagoras used color, sound, music, and numbers. They're all vibrations. So we vibrate to certain numbers. Like some numbers you see, sometimes we see certain numbers. There's certain numbers that are our favorite numbers. And
Right.
then numbers have meaning within themselves. So, depending on how we're looking at it, it's a really a rich, it adds a richness. And I use it with my practice in tarot, and I also use it in my healing practice.
Right, there's certain numbers like 1111 or 444. There's certain numbers that are like angelic numbers or something like that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, some are angel numbers. You can look at them that way. You can look at, in people's charts, repetitive numbers. If you see
Mhm.
people that have repetitive numbers, that means something. Sometimes that's a lesson for them, those number meanings.
Oh, interesting.
Sometimes you'll see a number on a clock. A lot of people see the 1111.
Mhm.
And, that's usually, I always look at it, it's a time, a portal, a place where there's an opportunity if you're thinking about doing something, because it's kind of like the Adora, the 11, going through that portal, that special place and time.
Wow. So how did you get a deep understanding of what all the numbers mean?
Well, I studied tarot, which has numbers in them. I took a numerology class, and then I just started reading, and I started just picking up the vibrations for myself and working with the numbers. And I also worked to see how numbers affected other people, and that's what was really interesting, especially when I do events. I use numerology when maybe tarot, they want numerology rather than tarot. It depends on what type of event it is. And people really resonate to maybe the day they were born, their life path number. We have a world year number. 2014 is in a world year of 7. You just add the numbers across. And with Pythagorean, the Western numerology, always reduced to one digit. So if you have a double digit. So we're in a 7 year, but we have personal years too. So to find out our personal year, we would add our day and month to the world year, which is a 7, and then reduce it. And so they all have vibrations. So you can look at your world year, your personal year, and your numbers, and see how the year works for you and how you can use that energy.
How can you give us an example of how that might work if somebody has a personal year, like how they use that number to their advantage?
Right now, your personal year is 3.
Yay, 3.
Yes, and that is, 3 in a personal year of 3. 3 is about creativity, and in tarot, that's the Empress, and it's like pregnant with possibilities. Everything's out there. We want to communicate in a 3 year. We want to try new things. We want to have fun. We want to let our inner child come out. So a 3 year can really, we can grow things in a 3 year. We can't stuff things down in a 3 year. We really want to communicate in different ways. So
That,
it's just, and I don't know if you've been doing some new things.
yeah, it's definitely resonating with me. I've got tons of new things on the horizon. Just started, a class and I have travel plans. So that's definitely sounds good to me.
Right. And then too, we live on the positive or the mid-range, or we can live on the flip side of our numbers. So in that same year, someone's 3 year, you might be having a fabulous 3 year, but sometimes the 3s, we have to pay attention to being maybe too much drama, kind of staying in our own space and our own business in a 3 year. Sometimes we have to be careful with that. Last year the world was in a 6 year. And so, 6 years can be good for business. It can be about family, nurturing, but 6 is on the flip side. We can overdo things. We can be the rescuer. We can be the one that wants to fix everything, come in for people, and that's kind of imbalances karma. So sometimes when we do that, it can cause some. And there's family boundaries in a 6 year too that we have to be careful of. We have to let people take responsibility for themselves. So there's both sides of looking at it. But the 7 year for the world year for everybody, it's a really mystical, magical year, the 7 year, and it's the wooden green horse in the Chinese New Year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the chariot will be moving forward, although a 7, a lot of times we really get down and investigate. This year for the world, a lot of things will be uncovered. It's a year of truth, because really it's a year of investigation. A 7 is a good number if you want to work on uncovering things. It's also the spiritual number. It's about our spirituality and moving our spirituality into what we do every day.
I find this all fascinating. So you find out your year by taking your month, date, and this year, and you add it all together until they become a single number.
Yes, because I was
Okay.
born January 27th, so I would take the 1, the 2, and the 7. is a 10 or a 1. I could reduce it, add it to the 7, so I'm in my 8 year.
Okay. And what does that mean for you?
Well, for me, 8 can be abundance. You can turn that 8 on the side, and that can be the infinity symbol.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a year where you're working really hard, so you have to make sure you have balance in an 8 year, balance in your life. And also, an 8 year, pay attention to your health in an 8 year. So make sure, like I went ahead and gifted myself this year with a personal trainer for the beginning of the year, because I knew I wanted to get physically stronger to be able to do that rototiller in the garden and have physical strength. So that's kind of in the 8 year, and we do watch our finances in 8 year. It can be a great year, but we can overspend too. And then we have to be sure that we're nurturing ourselves in 8 year, giving ourselves enough time, attention, and our tribe and family.
Right, so that you're not overachieving and overworking and burning yourself out.
Right. And a lot of people carry an 8 in their wallet. That's kind of a tip numerologists do for because it's a number of prosperity. Some people put, like, you can get in the craft stores the numbers. They will Mod Podge or decorate a number and put it at their desk, or just put an 8 by where you pay your bills.
Really?
And numbers too, yeah. And there are vibrations in our house, our home. You can change your number in your house by putting a number inside your door, which I've done because my house is a different energy. And my front door is my office, so I want that to be the right energy when people come in.
I'm very lucky because my house number is number 8.
Oh, that is great.
That's fun. So I'm just waiting for it to come in now. Like, come inside. Thanks for being outside, but now come inside.
Yeah, you can put a 2 in your bedroom for love and romance.
Oh.
In your door too.
Oh, look at that! Somebody's gonna walk in this house and like, are you a math teacher? That's great. So, we have so much to talk about. Beyond numerology, you also help people connect with themselves. And one of the things that you do with this is that you communicate with angels. So when did you first know that you have this gift?
I guess when I was younger, I went to Catholic school. So, there was a lot of talk. Some people really, they didn't learn about angels. So there was always, angels were just always there. My mother collected angels. She always, angels were always around us. But the first time I actually saw an angel was I was visiting after my mother had passed. A friend of hers was in the hospital, and I was going to go pick her up. And I was a little uneasy because my mother had just passed. And I was just walking up there, and all of a sudden there were angels coming in and out. And, in this form that we would think to see them. And it was just like they were busy coming in, helping people make their transition. But it was just like an angel office, this hospital. And I was just so amazed by it. And I work with angels like I used to be a project or a team leader. So I actually work with a team of angels when I am working on something and ask them to come in and help me work on a certain project or find people, or guides too that I work on, because I believe people that have passed on, some people's job is they do come and help people that are doctors or accountants, or they can be from any walk of life. Mm-hmm. But they come back and they can help us, and I believe angels can too. So I check with them at night, and in the morning we have a meeting when I do my meditations before I start my work. Especially before I have clients. But in the morning, I always check in. And then, and then when I have clients, I ask to be able to speak or to, have permission to help the client and with their angels and let them be told or led by their own angelic spirits.
I love that. Very cool. So in addition to that, you also do Reiki.
Yes, I do energy work, and Reiki is one of them, and I work with people and animals. And
oh, really?
I recently have worked with more animals.
Oh, so, how does that work?
Oh, they just love the energy of Reiki. One dog has glaucoma, and they're trying not to get it to go to the other eye. It's taking drops, and you work with veterinarians too. But one day it just woke up and it couldn't see. It was blind in the good eye. So I made a house call and did Reiki, and it's glaucoma is eye pressure, so Reiki is a gentle and calming energy. So until she could get to the vet on Monday, The dog just, just sat there. And people and drink a lot of water after they've had energy work or do any kind of energy work. Well, dogs do too. Animals do too, whether it's any kind of animal. But within a half an hour, the dog was, being able to focus. And, when she called the vet, he said, they have occurrences of this happening, but I think it was the relaxing energy, the universal energy that, we're all a part of that comes down, that we call on, and it just comes, it's not from us. So, but I do really like working with animals. So this year I want to work with rescue groups and use the Reiki and maybe match animals up with people.
That's amazing, Maggie. Wow. You really have a diverse background. I find you so fascinating. And you're also known as Maggie Moon Tarot, and you have a new series of vlogs that you send out, which is a unique blend of tarot, astrology, and other metaphysical observations. And, they're not the standard, hey, this is what's going on the planets today. They take a unique twist. And, for instance, one of them that I watched was the one about the colors of Mardi Gras and how you get into that and then blend it all together. So where do you come up with the inspiration for all these topics that you come up with?
Well, I first wanted to do YouTubes, and then Catherine Dayton came on your show, and you guys talked, and she was saying she was going to do vlogs. And I thought, after I listened to the show, I thought, I'm there. Okay, I'm going to do that. And what I do is I try to take a little bit from different divinations or just what's happening around us. And astrology is something new that I'm learning, and so I try to put a little bit of that in and just make it it's kind of a light and just kind of just putting people in a good place maybe to start the week.
It is. I have to tell you, they're very easy to watch. They've got a gentle energy to them, and where can people watch your videos if they want to check them out?
Oh, I'm on YouTube, and my channel's Maggie Moon Tarot, MAGGIEMOON Tarot, TAROT. And I usually do one Monday or Tuesday, put it out.
Fantastic. I love it. So check Maggie out there. Now, you're no stranger to getting your message out. You are also co-hostess with Jean Marie Pullum, and you guys do a 2 Magazine Radio's weekly show, Personal Empowerment for Your Soul. How did that evolve?
Oh, Jean, I have so much fun with Jean. Jean wanted to start a show, and she asked me if I would be her co-creator, and it's just been wonderful. It was, a good point in time for me, and we've had a lot of fun with it. And what we do is we bring people on. You've been on our show. We bring people on, and it's an hour show, and we just kind of introduce what they do and how they've kind of brought their own personal empowerment into their life to inspire other people, but also to get their message out so that people know who are the resources, who are the helpers. I always like that. My last video was Fred Rogers. He has the thing, always look for the helpers. There's always people here to inspire and help us.
I love Mr. Rogers.
Yes. And Jean and I have just a wonderful time. She's a wonderful co-host. We have a great time. And Mary Nail on the 2 Magazine Radio Network is we're lucky that she has us on. So that's nice.
So what are some of your upcoming guests and where can people check you out?
Okay, they can go on Blog Talk Radio, a 2 Magazine Radio, and it's Personal Empowerment for Your Soul. And next week we're having Brad Tesh, and he has just written a new book, Eternal Magic.
Ooh.
We'll be talking about that book.
Very nice.
Yeah, so last week we had, and you can go and look in the listen to the shows in the archives. We had Joanna Powell Colbert, who was the creator of the Gaian Tarot, and she's talking about some of her new projects and artwork that has gotten into. So.
Very interesting. Well, Maggie, what else do you have going on? Because you don't have enough. Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
Well, let's see. And I do my website. Sometimes I do blogs, but mostly I'm doing the vlogs. I'm kind of sticking with that. I do parties locally, and readings. I do a lot of readings, so they can find me on the website for my readings if someone wants to get a reading.
Perfect. Well, Maggie, now it comes to the point in the show where it is confession time. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Well, you talked to me about something really, really fascinating, and I had never heard of it. I wonder how many of our viewers actually have. So tell us, what is scanning, and how did you identify yourself as a scanner?
Well, one of my many jobs, I was in a bookstore, and I picked up a book by Barbara Shear, and I think it was Refuse to Choose. And she talked about scanners, and she's written a lot of books. And there's different types of scanners, but it's just basically people that are curious about a lot of unrelated subjects. And they can't just choose one, because then they would maybe exclude other ones. So I don't remember what category I fell into those scanners, but I just remembered from being very young, because everybody had kind of, I mean, I always had my metaphysical work that I did, but everybody had, like, I wanted to be, a physician, or I wanted to be a pharmacist, or, I wanted to be, a bookkeeper or an accountant, but I never had that one thing. So I started out dog walking. My next job was going through school, working in the library system, and it was great because it was a government job. So at a young age, I got paid well. Yes. And then I worked for an art curator who at the National Gallery. We would put together art exhibitions.
That sounds fun.
Yes, I worked for a law firm during the Watergate time period.
Wow.
So that was fun. I worked for corporate America in a large corporation.
And that wasn't fun? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I stayed there the longest because it was 22 years, and that was a really long time, but I did different things. I started out as administrative assistant, then I was a technical editor, then I was a software engineer, and then I went to, I traveled, they sent me to school, and I was on temporary assignments, so it was like I was doing different jobs in different places. So it was not like one job. I did that. I did real estate when I did that too, a little bit. Tried that. And then afterwards, I started my metaphysical practice, but I also did work with hospice alongside hospice. I went to school and took some classes, some nursing classes there. And then I worked in a bookstore after I retired. And gosh, I was trying to think of what else. But it's just been, I think because I just had a lot of interest and just couldn't pick one. And it wasn't like you got tired of one thing. It was just like something new and exciting came up. So she always differentiated it between scanners and then deep divers. So sometimes deep divers are one that picked a career. And they may have a lot of hobbies or interests. Mm-hmm. But the scanners actually have all the different kind of unrelated jobs.
And has that caused any challenges for you in your life at all? Or has it always been just easygoing for you?
No, it's not been really challenging because there's always been a new opportunity that comes up, something exciting. So that was probably corporate. The corporate job was the most challenging because then there's the numbers thing again. I was a software engineer, and in school, the nuns would always say, math is going to come knocking at your door, because I wasn't very good in math. And I thought, not me. No. And it actually did in many areas. Numerology, the numbers, I just use 9 and below, but in software engineering, it was more a challenge. So yeah, that job was. But I was in the marketing end, so.
Very cool. So I could see that for you, this seemed to work well for you. Do you think that's like that for all people who can identify themselves as scanners? Do you think there's some people out there that might be struggling with it as accepting a part of who they are? And if so, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, and that is true, because sometimes you feel like you have to pick one thing. You have to, because people say, well, they can't stick to anything. They're not, they just can't. They're just kind of going from here to there. But it's okay, because you're curious. You're continually being curious. You're continuing filling up your container. That's the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. And you're having experiences that other people are not. And, what's good for one person, that deep diver, they wouldn't have it any other way. But it's just like, the curiosity, always having something new come along. And that it's okay. And nowadays it's more acceptable because growing up, in the 50s, I was born in the early 50s, people stayed in their job for a long time, forever. Now, even in corporate America, people, 4 years, and they're probably doing the same thing, but they're in a different job. So people are more mobile now. People can work from home. So I just think just embrace that curiosity. Maybe read the book. Yeah, it was Refuse to Choose. So you could find out what kind of scanner you were, how you fit in. And I just think, you know, it's exciting to be able to do that and just say, I'm curious about this, and be able to have the confidence that you can do that and take a chance, take a risk.
I think that's fascinating. You know what I've come to conclude about myself through this confessions is that, you know how there's hypochondriacs who seem to like take on, you know, the symptoms of an illness without having an illness? I swear that with every confession that somebody makes, I take on a part of it like, oh, that's me. And it's funny because it doesn't have to be, you know, just your professional life or just a personal. It can be like a part of you. And I consider myself like a perpetual student. And I can't explain why, but I need to learn about astrology and I need to learn about psychology. And now I'm doing acting, and then I was doing an art class, and like they can be interrelated, but they're really not. And then I'm not doing it for like, most of them weren't for a degree. So I'm sitting here going, this is fascinating. Okay, so I can just be a little off the beaten path and just stay in school forever.
Yeah, and that's for deep divers, people that have one career. They can just amass tons of hobbies, and related or non-related, and so they can scan in their personal life.
But even in my job, I hop from things to things. I'm like, oh, I'm a supreme multitasker, and if I don't have that, I die. I can't be stuck in one thing. Wow, I got a little bit of scanning in me.
That's right.
How fun, Maggie. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing to learn about this and your journey and everything. So if there was one message that you can send out to the world about that Maggie Lukowski wants to say out there, what would it be?
Well, there's two things. One is a quote from Mary Oliver. Tell me what you plan to do with your one precious life. Because we've just got that life, so we've got to really give it. And the other is our thoughts, our words, and our actions. They all create vibrations that go out into the universe. So I just kind of like to say, you know, dial up, you know, turn up that dial in our heart. You know, keep our vibrations high, because they have ripple effects. And that comes from the numerology and the numbers that have vibrations and our energy.
I love that. Maggie, thank you so much for being on with me tonight. It went so fast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Now, if people want to check you out, why don't you run through the websites that people can look you up and find you at?
Okay, I'm at MaggieMoonTarot.com, and Maggie Moon Tarot is my YouTube videos, and Jean Mari and I are on Personal Empowerment for Your Soul on Blog Talk Radio on Attune Magazine Network. And then I do my energy work at Harmony Light Reiki, and it's .com, so they can find me there. And I do long distance, and I do Skype for people and for animals.
I love that, for animals. That's so cool. All right, Maggie, I'm going to be putting all your links underneath the YouTube video for people to easily find you. So thanks again for coming on and for being such a light to this world.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm Jenny Watson. I'm a personal empowerment coach. You can find me at www.jennifer-watson.me, and you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and here on YouTube. If you are interested in being a guest and confess to me, please email me at jenny@jennifer-watson.com. So thank you for tuning in tonight and every week. I'm excited to announce that next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I will have the beautiful Marianne Mitchell in. She is a modern-day priestess and I can't say this word, shamanic, I think I said it right, practitioner. If not, you know, she'll say it right. So join me next week for that. Thank you again. Namaste, and embrace your power.